vital road links opened in Northern Province. New era for cocoa in PNG. And the latest on the political front.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Monday's news. The people of the Northern Province today celebrated the opening of 3 vital bridges. They will help to restore essential services and connect local communities to markets. The bridges are the Eroro, Girua and Ambogo bridges, constructed at a total cost of 139 million kina. Deli Waigeno was in Popondetta and filed this report.
The Girua Bridge was one of those which was swept away by floods caused by Cyclone Guba in 2007. The construction of the Ambogo, Girua, Eroro and Kumusi bridges is a project supported by the Australian government under the Transport Sector Support Program. The total cost of the construction is 139.4 million kina. David Were, Secretary for Department of Works, Roy Mumu, Secretary for Department of Transport, and James Passmore, Councillor from the Australian High Commission, unveiled a plaque at the Eroro Bridge, the first of the 3 bridges to be opened today. The Girua and Ambogo bridges were then officially opened by Oro Governor Gary Jufa. Mr. Passmore said the achievement is a result of a close partnership between Australia and PNG.
This reflects the great value that the Government of Australia and the Australian Aid Program place on the transport sector. It's one of our key sectors that we invest in here in Papua New Guinea, basically because it's critical to connecting communities and people to services.
The heads of departments of works and transport were pleased as Oro's residents rely on the roads and bridges for access to health services, education, markets and other incoming generating opportunities.
These bridges have been designed to very high standard. I'm very pleased to say that the designs used for these bridges will stand up to any weather conditions, even equivalent to the Cyclone Kuba we experienced some time ago in this province.
I hope that you will look after this bridge. As Secretary of Works said, we plan to advocate in safety. Time you run the bridge, on this road, please, easily click. No can put him accelerator, go down to mass. Look online, you walk about. Me play advocating to this road safety.
Governor Jufa thanked the government of Peter O'Neill for the bridges and the Australian government and taxpayers for being partners in time of need. However, he was disappointed that the bridges were a long time coming, resulting in loss of lives.
I want to make note here that there has been a failure in public service delivery from both Canberra and Waigani because these bridges were pledged in 2007. Why did it take 5 years?
The project's supervision was done by the Department of Works and the contractor was Construct Proprietary Limited. The 4th bridge and the longest in the province, the Kumusi Bridge, will be opened in a few weeks' time. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News, Popondetta.
The autonomous Bougainville government has been commended for initiating moves to secure the financial future of members of its House of Representatives. NASFAN Chief Executive Officer Ian Tarutia commended the ABG having the foresight in ensuring that ABG MPs' superannuation contributions were up to date. He was speaking in Buka during the presentation of 1 million kina to NASFAN.
Legal obligation, legal requirements from law that MIPLA must contribute, all workman to MIPLA. Maybe in receiving plenty letter from Chief Executive Officer, not talking me or reminding me as a Minister of Finance that MIPLA need to pay him this contribution. He go along NESFAN on behalf of all members of the workman to MIPLA.
The autonomous Bougainville government has been commended for ensuring that members of its House of Representatives contribute to a retirement savings account through NASFund. NASFund CEO Ian Tarutia was personally on the ground in Buka to witness the presentation of 1 million kina from the ABG and was pleased at the approach taken by the autonomous Bougainville government.
We like to thank you, Canberra ABG government, because I believe this is the first time that a regional government
If you consider provincial governments from mainland PNG, outside of national government and also outside of our national parliament, to provide a retirement savings for its leaders through an approved superannuation fund like NASFund. So congratulations for this foresight. That is the look all leaders for you.
His sentiments also echoed by ABG Deputy Speaker Francisca Semoso.
That at least we have a government and we have a minister that recognizes the importance of making sure that our members of parliament inside Long ABG are taken care of.
At the same time, members of the House of Representatives were also challenged to ensure that they continue to keep up with their contributions and ultimately create a savings culture on the island.
NASFund is not a charity organization. You must serve it. NASFund is a charity organization where you put in money, na losing thing, money blow by wheelchair blow disabled now one. No God. You bring in money blow time you finish work you hammer mas one time. Laga. Turu company you work one time. Government you work one time. By paying you good time you come out low work. Turu or no God. Your retirement savings, your NASFund savings will put up big smiles on your face that time. Turu laga.
Through this payment, members of Bougainville's House of Representatives can also expect to benefit from other services offered by NASFund, not only on Bougainville, but also in other parts of the country. Merabatulo, National EMTV News.
Moves by Oil Search to acquire Interoil look to have been derailed, with Interoil today confirming a higher bid from a super major. In an announcement into the markets, the board of Interoil confirmed the bid by super major company ExxonMobil for $45 per Interoil share, significantly higher than that put forward by Oil Search. According to Interoil, Oil Search now has until July 21st to respond to this bid by ExxonMobil. At this stage, the board of Interoil has continued to recommend the Oil Search bid to its shareholders. However, their position may change in the coming days. The Cocoa Board of PNG today swore in 4 board directors as part of major reforms in the agriculture sector. Speaking at the ceremony, Agriculture and Livestock Secretary Dr. Ilaava said the country's cocoa industry is recovering from the pod borer disease, and PNG is now in a better position to compete in global markets. The new board of directors have been tasked to bring the industry forward and provide proactive governance in the cocoa industry.
The cocoa industry in PNG was thought to be lost after it was crippled by the cocoa pod borer disease, a disease that has affected over 2 million local farmers in the last 10 years. However, with the introduction of the pod borer tolerant cocoa clones, the industry is slowly recovering and PNG is now in a position to be a global competitor. The swearing-in ceremony marks the start of a new era of the cocoa industry. Part of the government's agriculture reforms, the new board of directors will be tasked to provide a proactive governance in ensuring cocoa production increases.
We would like to see a board which is very proactive, a board that can think business, commerce, economics, the board that can really pull in investments into the industry.
The recent launch of the cocoa industry strategic plan embraces the cocoa industry-wide issues and challenges. Cocoa Board CEO Boto Gaupu said it is an opportune time that a board is in place to effect the transition of the 10-year strategic plan.
Now that we have a board, we should be able to roll out programs that the management has in place in order to revive the industry and take it forward into the next stage.
PNG's global share of the cocoa market currently sits at 1%, but PNG cocoa is internationally recognized by the International Cocoa Organization as 90% fine flavor.
So that puts us in a very special niche market in the world. So we don't have to compete with Africa. We don't have to compete with Asia. We've got to target our strength, and our strength is quality cocoa. We still maintain the 90% fine flavor, but our target as a board is to ensure that we start to put in place programs and strategies to lift it to 100% fine flavor.
Stanley Ove Jr., National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News, the latest on the political events after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The opposition is not moved by the government camping in Alatau. Leader Don Pollier says MPs must be in their right mind for the vote of no confidence. ECP Governor Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare was present with the opposition as an observer in today's news conference.
This afternoon, the East Sipi governor joined the opposition team for a news conference but clarified his position as an observer. The joint news conference was attended by 9 different leaders of political parties claiming they are not moved by the government camping in Alatau. Leader Don Pollier called on MPs to consider what the people think and not to those in power.
So you have 2 things happening here. One is the members went out and telling them there is a motion of vote of no confidence against the Prime Minister, Peter Honil. And second is for them to listen to the people, what the people's response is.
Seems strong, long all people follow you. Now behind, you go inside the parliament. Inside the parliament, you ask yourself, what are you now doing?
Being in the opposition for the past 4 years, Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil says the funding factor of DSIP, PSIP and LLGSIP should not be the brain teaser behind leaders.
Such a threat law opposition I go, or such a threat law central government, they must understand that Papua New Guinea is bigger than our electorate and our province. We have to make sure that Papua New Guinea is okay, then we can guarantee that our province and our district will be okay.
Not about DSIP, not about PSIP, not about what I can get for myself, but what I can give to my people. That's the difference.
The opposition spoke highly of addressing the number game despite the government claiming 91 members to opposition 16. The opposition did not disclose its numbers in camp, however stated that they are prepared to face the O'Neill-Dion coalition government come Friday.
You will know it on the floor of Parliament on Friday. Our number is growing and this team will form the new government. We will establish a new Prime Minister. You will see a new government emerging out of this team.
Jack Lepave Jr., National EMTV News.
Yesterday, Finance Minister James Marape, in a media statement, said People's Progress Party leader Ben Micah's move to the opposition was because he had wanted the Deputy Prime Minister seat and was denied it. Today, the KVang MP went on Radio Talkback to explain himself.
This was the news release done by James Marape, criticizing the move by Micah and 7 of his party members to the opposition last Friday before the vote of no confidence was introduced. Today on the Talkback show, the People's Progress Party leader explained his motives.
Could any sensible thinking law enforcement officer give an order to open fire on unarmed civilians? That is the road to destruction of our people. And I couldn't tolerate that. I made my views known to the peer.
On top of his list was the university students' unrest in the country and the current union stop work protest. He said that he realized that the current government's way of dealing with the situation wasn't right.
I thought it was enough when the students were withdrawn from UPNG. You know, okay, Mbali stop now. Lo ask him Prime Minister, lo resign. And then me play all of France come back, or kill him beginning along United. Ban the mess, banned about 60 million kina worth of damage at the University of Technology. Ban the part of the library and destroy security, maybe another 5-10 million kina worth of damage at UPNG. So me think all the same, I think I'm not finished all man poretia, you know. But just last week and continuing, the pilots decided to ground the aircraft and they said, Prime Minister, you must resign. We play no interest on vote of no confidence. Prime Minister, you must resign.
Meanwhile, on the issue of the Minister for Mining and fellow PPP member Byron Chan not moving to opposition with other PPP members, Micah had this to say.
Byron is the son of Julius Chan. Don't worry about him. When Parliament sits, you will see him sitting next to me. All right?
Adelaide Xerox, Kari National, MTV News.
In related news, while the PPP leader was explaining on public radio that he remained Minister for Petroleum and Energy, he would still be referred to as such until an official decommissioning by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's office made available a gazettal notice of Mr. Micah's official dismissal. The dismissal notice dated today, July 18th, and effected by Governor-General Grand Chief Sir Michael Ogier. It also announces the determining of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill as the Minister for Petroleum and Energy effective July 15th and until further notice. When asked about his take on the upcoming vote of no confidence this Friday, Governor Juffa said members of Parliament should ensure the interests of their people is priority. He said MPs should remember that they were elected into office to be leaders and not followers. He was speaking in Popondetta today following the opening of 3 bridges in the Northern Province.
For Friday, I want all the members of Parliament to remember that you were elected to lead, not follow. You were elected to make decisions on behalf of your people, in the best interest of your people and your country. That is the reason why you were elected.
And now looking at our finance news, the Kina closed unchanged at 0.3160 US dollars in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying 0.3085 US dollars, 0.4036 Australian dollars, 0.2759 euro and 32.27 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed higher, while coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Copper closed lower, palm oil closed higher, while crude oil closed the day unchanged. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 10.14 points higher, the ASX is trading at 31.33 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 31 points higher. We'll have more local and international stories making headlines today after the break. Welcome back to the news. Landowner disputes continue to be a reason behind the development of the Konoagil oil palm development in the Namatanai district of New Ireland province. Landowners say no proper consultation and awareness of the project was carried out in communities. However, local landowner company Laka Forest Development Limited Chief Executive Walter Schnobelt has brushed aside these comments, saying proper procedures were followed.
A month ago, Developer Million Plus Corporation worked with Laka Forest Limited and the government to launch the multi-million Konoagil oil palm project. Over the past 3 weeks, a faction of landowners, including the Konoagil LLG president, have been attacking the project, claiming no proper consultation was done with landowners. Recently, Chief Executive Officer of Laka Forest visited communities in Konoagil LLG to resolve the disputes. The visit to Medlick Village over the weekend saw the involvement of Laka Forest Development, landowners, Namatanai district officers and the Konoagil LLG manager. Laka Forest CEO Walter Schnobelt took the opportunity to express the economic benefits of the project. Schnobelt also called on the New Ireland provincial government and LLG presidents in Namatanai district for an open forum to resolve this matter. The landowners' dispute has altered machines in the Medlick area for the Phase 1 development of the oil palm project. Jack Lapave Jr. National, MTV News.
The temporary closure of Hohola Juvenile Remand Facility in Port Moresby will force young people awaiting sentencing into police cells at Laloki and Bomana Prison. The centre is facing funding constraints. MTV spoke to Sacred Heart Brothers, who have been looking after this facility.
The closure of Hohola Juvenile Centre comes at a time where there is a need to address increasing law and order problems caused by young people. This remand facility accommodates youth until they are convicted. Later, they are posted to Era Boys Town in Morobe and Wewak Boys Town in ECP province. It promotes and recognizes fair and equitable treatment of young people arrested and detained under the Juvenile Justice Act. Others include juvenile facility at Laloki, Bomana and the recent one in Northern Province. This initiative is funded by the Department of Justice and Attorney General as an avenue to promote law and justice and ensuring safe and just society for all. Speaking of camera, caretaker and Secretary Brother Adolf Rose said its temporary closure follows the directive from the management. Through the public-private partnership, non-governmental organizations like UNICEF and UNFPA has helped in funding juvenile prison rehabilitation programs like literacy training and workshop.
There are projects on gender-based issues, on violence against women, on data for development and statistics, and on youth, young people.
However, the challenge is for the authority concerned to work in partnership with NGOs to rectify this problem. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
And now heading overseas to the United States, and in the latest shootings, 3 officers and a suspect have been shot and killed in Baton Rouge, the second largest city in the U.S. state of Louisiana. Baton Rouge became the scene of large protests against police brutality after officers shot dead a 37-year-old Alton Sterling on July 5th.
Police are calling this an ambush that took place here in Baton Rouge on this terrible morning in which 3 officers were killed, 3 others injured. The shooter dead, and as they look into his social media presence, they're painting a picture of a confused young man, a former Marine. He's 29 years old, African-American, out of Kansas City, Missouri, which means he would have to driven about 800 miles just to get here. Police believe, based on where he was this morning, that he had been here, he knew the terrain, and he had actually staked out where he would strike and kill these police officers. On social media, YouTube postings, he talked openly about the need to do more than just protest the killings of blacks by police officers. He basically gave a call to action and even gave instructions as to what people should think of him should anything happen if he would not be around. Police continue to investigate this terrible shooting while they're also trying to deal with the Alton Sterling, the killing that took place in Baton Rouge that sparked massive protests in this city. All of this going on while the Republican National Convention gets underway in this country, and people are just trying to get through what has been a very deadly summer.
The Turkish president is urging his supporters to keep up their rallies after the weekend's failed coup. Up to 240 people were killed when anti-government forces tried to seize power.
As the crackdown against coup plotters continues in Turkey, an ominous sound. Crowds chant, "We want the death penalty," at the funeral of a civil servant killed in Friday's clashes. And by the president, a reply.
My dear brothers, I expressed this yesterday as well. In democracies, people's requests cannot be ignored. This is your right. This right will be evaluated by the appropriate institutions within a constitutional framework, and a decision will be made.
2 days after an attempted coup to oust Turkey's President Erdogan, the government has detained some 6,000 people, including senior aides and senior members of the military. The Turkish government has demanded that Fethullah Gulen, a Muslim cleric in self-imposed exile in the U.S. and accused of plotting the coup, be extradited to Turkey, claims he denies. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry responded today to extradition demands.
We've never had a formal request for extradition, and we have always said, give us the evidence, show us the evidence. We need a solid legal foundation that meets the standard of extradition in order for our courts to approve such a request.
A key ally in the region and in the fight against ISIS, Turkey's stability is critical to the United States. But with President Erdogan asking his supporters to stay out on the streets, scenes like this across Turkey may become even more common.
France is observing 3 days of mourning following the Bastille Day massacre. A man drove a truck into the crowd, killing 84 people and injuring more than 200 others. French authorities have arrested an Albanian couple in relation to the attack. 6 other people are now in custody while investigations continue.
Mohamed Bouhel was a delivery driver with a wife, 3 children, and a volatile personality. In March, he threw a wooden pallet at another driver in a fit of road rage. Corentin de Lobel was his lawyer in that case and got him a 6-month suspended prison sentence. I told myself I did my job, he says, but if I had done my job badly, he might be in prison, and maybe he would have never done what he did. He struggles with a sense of guilt and shock. De Lobel says his weightlifting, heavy drinking client was not an extremist, but he did have a record of domestic violence, accused of beating and humiliating his now estranged wife. He was very much the stereotype of a petty criminal, he says. There was nothing that would have suggested in reality he was a jihadist. He says the attacker didn't really stand out in a crowd and wouldn't have raised any suspicion when prosecutors say he came here to the Promenade des Anglais not once, but twice in the days leading up to the attack. His brother says he even sent a photo that night of himself looking happy in the crowd. Prosecutors also say Buhel sent a text message to someone just before the attack, telling them to bring more weapons. Police are questioning several people. A source tells CNN those who knew Buhel say he began speaking in support of ISIS. The terror group has called him one of its soldiers. He wasn't very intelligent, he says. I imagine he could have been easily influenced by religion. Buhel was never overtly religious, never on a watch list. France's interior minister says he likely radicalized very rapidly, committing one of the worst terror attacks in recent history. And nobody, not even his lawyer, saw it coming. Will Ripley, CNN, Nice, France.
Golf, football and cricket. Those stories in Chukai Sports after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. In golf, 2 youngsters from the Port Moresby Golf Club will be attending the Asia Pacific Junior Amateur Championship in Taiwan next month. Vagi James and Natalie Mock, who are junior members of RPGC, qualified for the championship after performing well in several golf tournaments sanctioned by the PNG Golf Association. This was announced recently by the PNG Golf Association President Stan Walker. Deniros Raiko reports.
Stan Walker, the president of PNG Golf Association, said the junior representatives will face 12 other countries, including host Taiwan.
There were 3 contenders, and unfortunately one of them fell by the wayside through misadventure. And that left 2. Those 2 are coincidentally members of the Royal Port Moresby Golf Club. We have Natalie Mock and Vagi James, who qualify by age and their handicap system.
Walker said the 2 golfers have been remarkable. Natalie Mock was the runner-up in the Hagen Open, and Vagi James proved qualified as he was one of the top contestants in the East New Britain and Madang Open recently. The 2 will be chaperoned to Taiwan by junior golf coordinator Rose Taufa.
This is their first international, and like most things in life, you always have to start somewhere. And for these 2 children, it'll be definitely their first trip international junior golf, and it's a national rep call-up for us.
Taufa says both are first-timers to compete at that level, and it will be a great challenge as they take on other well-versed competition. The Asia Pacific Junior Golf Championship tees off on the 23rd of August and continues for the next 3 days. Dinero Shriko, National EMTV Sports.
To football, Lisa Cole, the head coach of PNG's under-20 women's national team, has not taken her role lightly. She is at the helm of a young nation on the world stage come November. Cole is looking at grooming some of PNG's best young female players into future stars of the game.
Cole had been heavily criticized after the back-to-back losses in the matches against the United States and world number 1 Japan. Conceding a massive goal difference had been disappointing for a woman who had worked at the top of America's women's competition. She has admitted the role of being in charge of the lowest-ranked nation in November's World Cup is a challenge, but one that she has embraced wholeheartedly.
And so that's why I said to the players, I go, we could play a team
You know, we could have got Fiji or Solomon Islands to come up, and we could have played, and we could have won, and everybody would have been happy, but we wouldn't have been prepared to play in the World Cup.
And Lisa Cole has the respect of her players.
Lo first that training trials wembla lo lay. Nami go meeting member half now talking me say coach blow under 20.
You important in the
Important no good straight. Help me play but small girls inside the team ko to say you come ni bunge you no come lo kai o si good play clothes or one you come lo play lo country blue me. So if you mix good play no good no can be see me put the country blue me go pass.
Yvonne Gabong is a leader of the young group, and as captain has the experiences of the Pacific Games to back her up, along with striker Ramona Padio. And both will be hoping to be part of Lisa Cole's core structure.
Coach Lisa, can say difference name lo tu player. Mi painiat lo pain difference but can say tu plus same chole. Or when something tu plus me kilo mi look at same chole.
Cole, however, had one important point to stress. The Papua New Guinea, while being minnows, would now have the spotlight firmly on them during the World Cup.
Our women are playing Brazil. Our U20 women are literally doing that. So I think people that are upset with what's happening right now are unrealistic in their expectations, and they need to think about what they're actually comparing things to.
The plan for the national team will revolve around the team working together. And Cole, along with her coaching staff, are preparing as best as they can for the moment PNG's national anthem is heard by millions around the world. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
The PNG Lewas continue their impressive run at the 2016 ICC Women's Cricket World Cup qualifier for East Asia Pacific in Samoa after defeating Japan by 5 wickets. PNG reached their target with more than 25 overs to spare, but coach Rodney Maha said despite their strong start, his team must not be complacent. With 2 strong wins so far in the tournament, the Lewas will now take a big step to advance to the final global qualifying tournament.
The Lewas have shown that they meant business in the first 2 matches of the tournament with a strong win over host nation Samoa and Japan. Captain Pauke Siaka played an instrumental role in the Lewas' performance thus far, notching an unbeaten half-century in the opening win over Samoa, and impressed with the ball, claiming an astonishing 3 for 8 from her 10 overs as Japan were dismissed for 67 runs in the 44th over. Despite their already impressive performance in the tournament this far, coach Rodney Maha said the team must remain focused and not become complacent. The Lewas are in a great position as Japan and Samoa face off. Samoa warmed up for their encounter against Japan with 2 2020 wins against the Cricket Without Borders selection team. Dion Kombeng, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby Union now, the Capital Rugby Union has selected the Boromas and Gaigai squad for the Export Rugby Championships commencing this weekend nationwide. Willie Rickis will feature once again for the Boromas alongside Sarufa Kingsley-Lea and Wesley Thomas in the front row, while Pukpuk Tisakautu, Desmond Kopok and Stanis Susuve have been named alongside Adek Nayo, John Akautu Jr. and newbie Jedediah Katal. In the Gaigais, Terence Uvau, Elipema Kini, James Lumaris and Jack Masso have been named alongside Charlie Avira, Lance Sitapai and Jordan Seladi. The Boromas and Gaigais are in the southern pool with the Daru Stingrays and Oro Faziwazi Angels. Matches will be played over a week at the Sir John Guy Stadium. Papua New Guinea professional kickboxer Maxi Kanea, aka the Black Thunder, has made his intentions known to stage an international tournament in Port Moresby on November 25th, featuring local fighters against some of the world's best. Kanea, who has trained and fought under Stanley the Headhunter Nandex, currently trains over 100 amateur fighters and heads a kickboxing club based at Bomana outside Port Moresby.
Maxi Kanea, with wealth of experience under his belt, has trained under former PNG great Stanley Nandex in his prime days. However, with retirement of Nandex in professional kickboxing, Kanea and other fellow fighters have somewhat displaced and are taking up different roles in society.
Mi play yet walking home way blum black around one me Australia mi play fight yo kam kind of some government no sa luguk lo mi play just paini mo sponsor about luguk.
Kanea, a soldier by profession, has put his job on the line, dedicating his time to his beloved sport of kickboxing. Funding has always been an issue for Kanea, who has initiated a kickboxing club under his mentorship at Bomana and several other locations around the nation's capital.
Suppose mi play kising good fail fight, and all mangi pa concentrate lo sila kickboxing arts na boxing na karate na all sila kain sanin. So mi lugo mo sem Gapmanilo lugi mi platumas na all mangi still na making kind something. One something emosem suppose one plug something come up lap. Emo ko taman pa ikam subimet. Am kind of subimet na join mi all mangi lo kickboxing at sila kain.
Kanea currently trains over 100 kickboxers from his local club, one of whom is young Wani Pame, who showed tremendous skill and dedication in which his mentor sees as a potential prospect to excel higher.
Lo Bomana mi got big black club almost 150 staff into student Merriman Oliampla Pikini PAU student policeman Woda mi training molan tablo Bomana. So Fluffin 17 mile 9 mile kamantaposem. So mi got one black club lo mi stabantap.
Maxi fought Tony Penny in their previous meet in Australia, which he won by unanimous decision. Now has plans to bring the fight to PNG and hopefully bring along some top fighters to compete as well. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, some showers for Daru and Alitau, mostly fine weather for Port Moresby, Popondetta and Kerema. In the Momase region, mostly fine weather for all centres. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine weather for Lorengau, Kavieng and Kimbe, few showers for Kokopo and Rabaul, and brief showers and thunderstorms for Buka. And in the Highlands region, shower or two, then morning fog for all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first, strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Hood Point to Milne Bay Islands to West New Britain, including Siasi Island, Dampier Strait and Finchafen, through Vietis Strait to Long Island to Karkar Island, and also southern waters of Bougainville. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of east of Yule Island to Hood Point to Somare Island with waters of Finchafen through Vietis Strait and Dampier Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island to Karkar Island, and with waters of West New Britain and Bougainville, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 2 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, seas 1 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Island to East New Britain to Bougainville, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. And waters of New Island to East New Britain, seas 1 to 2 meters. ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas rough with southeast to northeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate with east to southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots. Before we go, our top stories ahead. Vital road links opened in Northern Province. New era for Cocoa and PNG with the installation of new board members. And Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare says he is observing the current political maneuverings when attending today's opposition conference. And that's the way it is today. From the news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Good night.